Not the biomarkers, it's not the database side of it. What are the limiting factors in aging research outside of funding? I mean, I imagine if you could just get, a blank check, we could go much faster as well. But what are the limiting factors in terms of is there anything missing for us to do the research to the level that you'd like to do it at?
Well, the way I look at aging research, uh, we are doing three things in parallel. The investigators are us, the geroscientists. We are trying to create the Dorian Gray effect. Dorian Gray didn't get old, right?
Mm-hmm.
His aging was stunned when he looked at the mirror. He saw himself age, right? And he knew that he's aging, but he didn't feel that. And we have gerotherapeutics that seems to increase health span, delay aging, and delay mortality. In other words, have longevity as their side effects. And there are at least 12 drugs that are FDA approved, which mean you have to repurpose them. It's not any doctor can prescribe it now, but you need to repurpose it if you want to do a study that says, yeah, that it's doing that. Another scenario that we work at is what's called the fountain of youth. Take an old person and make it young again, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is really difficult. And I wonder if we could ever do it. I don't think we'll need to do it eventually. But one thing we can do definitely is make an older body young or younger, not young, but younger. For example, we're accumulating what's called senescent cells or zombie cells. And when we kill them in animals, they improve health span, but also we're trying them in humans. It's more complex because the targets are not well developed, but we get some results, and eventually we'll be able to target those senescent cells and improve health and improve disease. And lastly is more like the Peter Pan scenario, where in 50 years, okay, and it's not going to apply to you anymore, but when you're 20 years old, you'll go and get the treatment that will kind of erase your aging, and you'll repeat the treatment every few months or few years, and then you'll be able to live younger for a longer period of time. And on each one of those, there are examples of what we can do. And what are the challenges? Well, the first challenge is money,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like
Yeah.
always. The second challenge is to keep this pipeline. We have to have more investigators in the field. We have to have more postdocs in the field. And we have enough money to do research that is getting more expensive just because we have many tools that are expensive, and we're doing many tests that are increasingly expensive now that we measure not one thing, but 100,000 things, right? At
Mm-hmm.
one, it's still relatively cheap, but it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the other challenge that I told you is the biomarker challenge. The third is the FDA challenge. In other words, how do we convince the FDA that aging is a target, and that people who are developing drugs to target aging, and aging is what drives diseases, if they target aging, it's a prevention for age-related diseases. This is a major thing that I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that is I'm passionate, it's not everything we need to do, right? It's the things I'm passionate about, is, we made a great advance by knowing the genetics behind many diseases. In fact, the company, the pharmaceutical that's called Regeneron, that's what they do. They go to humans and they take hundreds, thousands, or millions of people, and they sequence their genome, and they see people with mutation that maybe activates or inhibits a pathway, and see what disease they have, and develop a drug to imitate whatever this genetics is doing. 2/3 of the drugs that were developed last year were approved by the FDA were based on genetic data. The fact that we used to work in mice and think that we know what's relevant to humans didn't work very well for us, but the genetics works well for us. So you're asking, how is it related to aging? Well, I've been interested in people who live for 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been doubling their life expectancy compared to the people, in their class, their cohort. And we found that they have those longevity genotypes that are functional genotypes that slows their aging. And there are few drugs that have been developed in part because of our finding. And we're having a huge effort that's called Superagent Initiative. It's run by the American Federation for Aging Research. And I'm running it because I'm the scientific director of the federation. But we're recruiting 10,000 families of centenarians to try and find more longevity genes and think of therapeutics that will increase our lifespan to our maximal capacity as a species.
So if anyone listening has a family member